Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today for the second Thursday of the month video recording for the 2022 to 23 school year. I'm Mary Thyssen-Milder, and I'm the Physical Education Consultant at the Minnesota Department of Education. This presentation is a product of the Professional Development Plan designed by the Minnesota Department of Education's Physical Education Leadership Team, made up of state leaders in physical education from the Minnesota Society of Health and Physical Educators, or MnSHAPE, representatives of the Minnesota Developmental Adaptive Physical Education, or MnDAPE, the co-chairs of the Physical Education Standards Committee, and higher education. Presenting with me today is my colleague, Deb Van Cly. Deb is a district coordinator for Stillwater Area Public Schools. She has an extensive background as a physical educator, served on the MDE Physical Education Standards Development Committee in 2017, and is currently on the MDE Physical Education Leadership Team. Deb is also president-elect for MnSHAPE. Our physical education standards are a means to ensure that all students have an equal opportunity to learn the knowledge and skills that are foundational for our students. They provide a clear picture for teaching and learning by identifying essential outcomes for all students to achieve by the end of a grade level, grade band, or course. This word cloud is a great visual that identifies the key concepts in our standards. The 2018 Minnesota Academic Standards in Physical Education were developed by physical educators from across the state. The Minnesota legislature directed MDE to adopt and adapt the most recent version of the Shape America Standards and Outcomes with the guidelines that we would maintain the integrity of the national standards. Our document consists of grade level benchmarks laid out in learning progressions at the elementary, middle, and high school levels. The document also includes 3 appendixes, a glossary of terms, descriptions of activity categories, and critical elements. If you need copies of the standards, you can download them at the MDE or MnSHAPE websites. Originally, our standards were to be implemented by the 2021 to 22 school year. However, due to the pandemic, the Minnesota legislature delayed full implementation until the 2022 to 23 school year. This slide identifies the key topics in the MDE Implementation Assistance Plan. Professional development topics are available online. Our first year of professional development allowed us to offer face-to-face workshops in regions across the state. When the pandemic interrupted those trainings, videos were created to highlight the key concepts in the topics covered the first 2 years of professional development. This slide identifies those topics. They can be accessed on both the MnSHAPE and MDE websites. This slide identifies the release dates and the topics to be addressed this year. Our focus today is to talk about curriculum and backwards planning. This slide gives you the URLs of the website that have all the resources available for the physical education standards. They are at the MDE website and the MnSHAPE website. During this presentation today, we will provide a brief overview of Shape America's essential components of physical education. In December's presentation, we took a deeper dive into the policy and environmental component. Today, we will take a deeper dive into curriculum and backward planning. Shape America has identified the essential components of physical education that provide structure for a physical education program. They created a guidance document for the components. We will use it to break down the essential components of physical education and outline why it is a key element of a well-rounded education for all students. This document, along with all other documents and resources identified, are available on the Shape America website. Defining the essential components of physical education raises awareness for the critical policies and practices that guide school districts and schools in addressing students' educational needs. School districts and schools also must establish the written curriculum that defines what is to be taught, guides rigorous instruction that supports the curriculum, and identifies student assessment that will provide evidence of student learning. The essential components encompass 4 fundamental areas: policy and environment, curriculum, appropriate instruction, and student assessment. Effective practices within each of these areas support the delivery of quality physical education. Today, we will examine the curriculum component. An effective PE curriculum will be based on state standards and grade level benchmarks. The 5 national standards were adopted by Minnesota. They are broken down into grade level outcomes or benchmarks, as we say in Minnesota. Our state standards define the skills that students should learn at critical grade levels, but they don't tell teachers how to develop lessons, how to instruct students, or which learning experiences will lead students to master those skills through spiraling skill development. The physical education curriculum is the written, clearly articulated plan for how standards and educational outcomes will be attained through a school district. A well-designed standards-based physical education curriculum has many parts and provides the framework for the identified milestones aligned with the learning activities in the curriculum and protocols for how learning is measured. The physical education curriculum serves the purpose of standardizing the curriculum in a school district across schools and ensuring equitable education for all. The physical education curriculum sets clear goals and objectives that align with state standards and identifies the core skills and content to be taught at all grade levels from K to 12, called curriculum mapping. The curriculum describes learning experiences and instructional resources through a scope and sequence, identifies student assessments or evidence of student learning, and includes instructional strategies for differentiation of instruction and modifications for students with disabilities. Essentially, a curriculum outlines what a student should know and be able to do and guides a teacher how to reach those goals. Now I'm going to ask my co-presenter, Deb, to talk about backward planning.
Hi, everyone. I'm Deb Van Cly, and I currently work for Stillwater Area Public Schools as the QCOP coordinator, supporting educators with professional learning and teacher growth. Also serving on the MnShape Board of Directors as president-elect and open national trainer. My core identity relies on the following equation, and in this order: authentic relationships plus high student engagement plus vigorous instruction equals limitless learning potential for our students. And proper planning helps us in attaining these goals. Being intentional with planning cannot be emphasized enough. As we work alongside educators, it has become a priority in achieving student learning goals. Backwards planning is a wonderful framework to assist educators in this work. We believe backwards planning provides a clear visualization of planning learning. It can improve student performance because students understand the why, what, and how. It provides effective time management and produces increased confidence and competence of students. As a part of the backward design process, we unpack grade level outcomes, determine the evidence of learning, design and select assessment tools, design or select instructional activities, and plan learning sequence and lessons. This graphic is a simple outline of how the process may look. When creating units of instruction, first select the standards you want to cover. These are the goals and describe what success looks like. Next, list the grade level benchmarks that align with the desired standards or benchmarks. These are the objectives to help reach the goals. Design the final assessment or project that determines how students will demonstrate they have achieved the desired outcomes. Create lessons that serve as practice leading up to the assessment. This is where the intersectionality of DeForest's 4 PLC questions, notice here in blue text, come into play and assist in meeting the students' learning goals. Reflect and ask yourself what worked, what didn't work, and what could be done differently. As we begin the planning process, we take a calendar and map out the learning outcomes wanted to teach at each grade level, considering vertical articulation, learning progressions, and bundling where appropriate. It's an intense process, but so worth it, not only for you, but for our learners. How do we support you in this important work of backwards planning? Shape America has great resources that are linked here, as well as Open. Open provides templates that are broken down K2, 3-5, middle school, and high school that can be modified to fit your spaces and places because we know the supports provided you are different from school district to school district. The next few slides introduce some additional resources for curriculum.
Thanks, Deb. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has developed a tool called the Physical Education Curriculum Analysis Tool, or PECAT, to help school districts and schools conduct a clear, complete, and consistent analysis of physical education curricula based on the national SHAPE standards. Specifically, PECAT can be used to assess how closely your PE curriculum aligns with the standards, analyze benchmarks, content, and assessment components of a curriculum, help district or schools identify areas of improvement, and help schools and districts or schools develop a new physical education curriculum. The PECAT is organized in 3 sections. The preliminary review, which determines if the curriculum is feasible to implement and reflects accurate information, as well as its affordability and acceptability. The standards analysis helps determine how well the curriculum addresses the national standards, and the curriculum improvement plan, which helps determine gaps or opportunities for improvement in the curriculum. To use this in Minnesota, you'll need to input the state benchmarks, which differ from the SHAPE outcomes. I can provide Word documents if you'd like that. This checklist is a part of Shape America's Essential Components of Physical Education document. It provides a great guideline as you review and revise curriculum. Thanks for listening to our presentation regarding the essential component of the curriculum in physical education. Tune in next month as we discuss the next concept in the standard implementation process, instructional best practices. I again encourage you all to utilize the available resources available to you on both the MDE and MnShape websites. These videos are intended to assist you on your standard implementation journey. I wish you all good health and happy teaching.